What's up everybody, this is Ven, and I welcome you to the MoC Spotlight, where we take apart what you build. For today's episode, we'll be going over Xares, created by LordDarkuta, and posted on BZPower. This MoC is another entry for the Battle for the Golden Mask contest, and it was the third placed winner for BZPower. Now before we get to picking and prodding at this thing to figure out why it won third place on BZPower, let me tell you my method of picking and prodding, which involves a point system that is based on three fundamental attributes: the overall appearance of the MoC, the build of the MoC itself, and the concept and ideas behind the MoC's creation. Each quality will amount up to 5 points, leading up to a score that will be determined at the end of the episode. And remember, this is all founded on my opinion. So let's get this started. First off, man, another big MoC. That's quite the trend with the contest, isn't it? Well, it's got a very impressive size and a pleasing cohesive color scheme consisting of gold and white and little bits of black. I couldn't help but notice that this MoC has some pretty odd proportions. First of all, that upper torso is huge. Like, he's got some massive pecs made up by these Olmecs. And speaking of huge, he also has quite the large noggin mounted on there. I will say the head is probably my favorite part about this MoC. It's very well detailed, and I appreciate the creativity and thought that was put into this head. It seems a bit too big for the body. Looks like his head's about to blow up. Or no, it looks like it kind of already did. And it doesn't really help that other portions of the body, such as the arms and kind of the legs, but mostly in the arms, are a bit smaller than they should be. I'm bagging on the arms because they seem very small, very frail. They also have a nice design, but they just don't work with the rest of this MoC. And I guess the same goes for these legs. I guess what mostly bugs me about the legs is the way that they're connected to the body. It doesn't look like he has any sort of waist. It's just like, oh, there's his lower torso, and then it just kind of sprouts out these legs. And his thighs look a bit too skinny to be thighs. I think it would look a lot better if the thighs were thicker than the lower legs. But the lower legs I don't have much of a problem with. In fact, I like the design of the lower legs, and I really like that it used these Hero Factory gun pieces for added detail and padding. I guess what I have to say is, this MoC has some really nice looking designs, especially that head. That head is the best design on this MoC. But the proportions and the way that they're all put together, it just doesn't seem to work that well. Again, his arms should definitely be longer, maybe a little bit thicker on the forearms. And then his upper legs, his thighs, should have a bit more bulk to them, so that it looks like they're actually connecting to his body in a proper way. His torso looks good. I think the upper torso could be slimmed down just a little bit, otherwise I think it's fine, and I really enjoy the design of this torso. And the head, well, I'd like to say that the rest of the body should be enlarged to accommodate this head problem, because I really like the design of this head as it is, and I don't think it should be changed at all. But if anything, maybe if it was built a bit smaller, it would look a lot better, but I can't imagine how it could be built smaller. Which is why I say the body probably should have been built a bit bigger. That's probably an opinion you're not going to hear that often. What's wrong with this big creation, Ven? It needs to be bigger. It needs to look like something that could be voiced by Vin Diesel. It needs to look like it can go toe-to-toe with Optimus Prime, and that its head can be used as a piñata for kaiju. Now, onto the build. I do have some complaints that are very similar to my complaints for the appearance. I'll start off with the legs. Lower legs look very structurally solid. Not much I have a problem with here until they start to connect to the upper legs, or the thighs. I should just call them thighs. I don't know why I call them upper legs. That's stupid. Who says that? Anyway, the way that they are connected to the thighs, I almost said upper thighs, oh my goodness, makes it look a bit stiff and pretty constricted. It looks as though it can move. There is a ball joint connection here, but it doesn't look like it can really move much, and I guess that is to be expected from a large MoC, but it's still a con. However, I will praise the fact that this MoC can actually stand up at all for such a large creation. And I guess that does call for the sacrifice of articulation in the legs, which is okay as long as the MoC stands up and looks good while it does it. That's totally fine. It also looks as though articulation is limited when the thigh connects to the actual body. It doesn't look like there's much space for this guy to swing his legs around. So I don't know. I'm not really liking the construction of these legs all that much. Then when we move up to the torso, I can easily say that this is one solid piece of work. It's so incredibly bulky, and you can tell that there's probably quite a bit of building magic just hidden underneath all these gold armor pieces. I mean, this is some top tier engineering here. This is really good. The arms also look pretty good. It looks like he could actually swing them around properly. At first it looked as though his shoulders were restricted similarly to the legs, but then I took a closer look and I kind of realized that, wow, they're actually not. It looks so well constructed to a point where it was built to be as solid as a rock, and yet it's not limited at all in articulation. And now I just kind of wish that this engineering was done for the legs, because these legs do look solid as a rock, but they also seem to share the same movement capabilities as a rock. And then there's the construction of the head, which looks so good. I already gave my praise in its appearance, and all my praise is founded by the intuitive build of this head. No complaints here. And now this is something I noticed throughout this whole MoC besides the head, but more notably in the head, and it's that it looks as though this guy really knew what he was doing with his parts. There were certain pieces that were just implemented into this really well, like the Iruni staff pieces here in the feet that just kind of curve perfectly so that they don't stick out past where the feet meet the floor. And then there are these white pieces on the shoulders that kind of imply this sort of curvature, making it look like a natural shoulder. That sounds a little weird. And like I said, this is most obvious in the head, where everything looks like it works together naturally. It's just a really big praise that I have for this creation, just how everything blends together so smoothly. Now, enough about that. Let's move on to the concept behind this creation, which is, of course, by the standards of the Battle for the Golden Mask contest, is supposed to be a potential bionicle villain. And for his creation, LordDarkuta decided that he wanted to make a very unique choice in basing his villain on the element of light, breaking out of the norm of shadowy, dark figures. He wanted to create this great being of light with evil intentions. Now, I think the element of light has been represented here very obviously. As we have seen before in Bionicle, the element of light has always been represented by the colors gold and white, as seen by Takanuva and mostly just Takanuva, really. And this makes sense because Takanuva is the Toa of light. He's the representation of light, much like how Tahu is the representation of fire because he's the Toa of fire. So anyway, the implication of light is very strong in this creation, but then that begs the question, how can you make a character that is based on the element of light look evil? Because light has always been associated with good and truth and justice and heroism and etc. Well, it looks like the builder answered all those questions, and it's through design features that he included, such as these sharp and intimidating claws and this imposing face with red eyes. I mean, this doesn't look like the face of a hero, this looks like the face of an angry beast, with an expression that is very well represented by these system parts. There's also little details like spikes that are just all over this MoC that I think aid in implying some sort of evil or darkness inside of this creature. So with all that said, I'd say that the builder's ideas were very well executed. I mean, it is a pretty simple idea, but anyway, it is time for the final scores. So in terms of appearance, I give this MoC a 4 out of 5. This MoC has a very nice cohesive color scheme, very well balanced between the colors, has some pretty neat looking designs and great utilization of the parts to give this MoC a unique appearance. And man, I really dig that head. But what really bugs me about this MoC's appearance are the proportions. The arms are a bit too small, the thighs look awkwardly thin, and the torso is maybe just a little bit too bulky, but I have a feeling if the arms and the thighs were changed up, then this wouldn't be a problem, like, at all. The build of this MoC receives a 4 out of 5. This is a very solid and durable looking MoC, and the builder shows efficiency in the usage of his parts. Everything seems to be really well designed, my only complaint being that the articulation looks limited on the lower half of the body, and I wish he had the same momentum going when he built these legs as he did when he built the arms. And then the concept and ideas behind this MoC receive a 5 out of 5. It's a simple idea that seems feasibly easy to do, just make a villain, and he just tacked on his own sort of goal with it. Make a villain that is based on the element of light. And I think that worked out really well in LordDarkuta's favor. He made a really great, imposing looking MoC. Worked really well with what he had to execute his ideas. And as far as being a potential Bionicle villain, I think I can see it.
And then the final score that this MoC receives from me, 13 out of 15. A really brilliant job, made by a really brilliant creator, builder, whatever.
And it makes me curious what kind of role that this type of character would play in the story. Well, I guess we won't find out because this guy didn't win the contest. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Be sure to rate, comment, subscribe. Join us on our message boards where you can post your own creation for a chance to be featured on the MoC Spotlight. That would be at board.ttvpodcast.com. The link will be in the description below. I'll see you all next week.